Welcome to the In My Opinion Show with Ronald Barry Robinson and friends. It's seen on the internet 24 hours, 7 days a week. We're also seen on Flint, Michigan Comcast Cable Television, Channel 17, every Saturday at 6 and every Wednesday at 8:30. We're also seen on Detroit, Michigan, Comcast Cable Channel 68, 7 days a week. You can also view us on allpointstv.com, Facebook, YouTube, MyStream, Twitter, and various other outlets. I want to welcome our talented guests. We have Miss Denise Smith-Allen.
Hi, Ron.
Hi. We have Miss Jackie Williams.
Hi, Ron.
We have Mr. Henry Hatter.
Hi, Ron. Excuse my voice today. Jackie and Denise, welcome back. I haven't seen you since last time. And Ron, I want to thank you for the great graphics in the studio that makes us look good.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We're working very hard to have our millions of viewers proud of the In My Opinion show. But you as co-host, you enhance the program as well. All right?
Thank you, Ron.
We're doing what we can. We're going to talk about 6 proposals on the ballot to be voted on November 4th. We have 5 mayors, actually 4 former and 1 present, all right, that in my opinion, 30 years ago, they should have been proactive, all right, and the city perhaps maybe wouldn't be in the mess that it is right now, the city of Flint, Michigan, all right. Some of you, if anybody has some issues, call the studio, all right, or email me, in my opinion, rbr@att.net, and we'll invite you on the show and we'll discuss these, okay. Denise, I'm going to let you have the floor on this. You've been to a couple meetings and involved in this ballot. What's your thoughts?
Well, Ron, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak on it. I'm going to surprise you because, number one, I have done more than just attend a couple of meetings. I'm currently engaged in a organization or a group committee, if you will, of people who are actually in favor of the proposal changes. And I'm going to speak to the belief as to why the changes are necessary. And I think they're probably a little in line in one of the concerns that you raised about, how did we get here? Well, we know that when General Motors left, along with that, there were, for every one person who was a General Motors employee, 6 jobs were affected. So ultimately, it changed really the trajectory of our city in terms of revenue coming in. We lost a lot of people. The times that you're speaking about, we were 250,000 people strong, but now we're less than 100,000 people. We're around 99, and people are leaving pretty much daily, okay? So our revenue has changed, our tax base has changed, so we cannot afford to continue to operate the way we were, okay? And with that, you have to look at the services and the appointments of people in the mayor's office. So there was a committee that came about that had some recommendations, and some people certainly had some thoughts about that. When I'm speaking about a committee, I'm speaking now about the Blue Ribbon Committee. Okay, well, if you take a step back, you'll also find out that, we have an emergency manager, I should say. And we didn't want an emergency manager. We wanted to be able to self-govern, but we were in such a financial disarray that we needed to have somebody come into our city to help us get things right. Okay, now, regardless of your position about whether you are for it or against it, that's our reality. They're here now, but we want to get them out. So how do you get them out? You get them out by being in a position to self-govern. And how do you self-govern? We've got to make some hard choices. So now we're looking at a couple of positions, say the ombudsman, okay? very, very difficult to talk about, particularly for minority communities, because we always believe that the ombudsman office was there to serve and protect us, okay? And I strongly believe that as well. However, we're not in a position to continue to fund that the way it stands now. So, what else can we put on the table? There's another position that's there, and that's the Civil Service Commission. Again, a very emotional, charged position for us to be in, to look at possibly eliminating that, or have it already eliminated, because both of those positions have been eliminated since 2011. Now, if we put those things on the ballot and they are approved, we can continue to defund them until we can get proposal 1, which is ultimately the most important proposal on there, because it's talking about getting a charter commission together. In the city of Flint, we have not had a charter revision since 1974, okay? So we're looking at over 40 years, whereas we've been operating under the same set of rules. So what can we do to kind of streamline our government and begin to help Flint in its current state? Well, if we had a charter commission, it would impanel 9 individuals from the city of Flint to be voted on by the city of Flint residents, and then they in turn would be able to go out and enlist people to come in and do testimony. They would also be able to get people who are professionals who could come in and give them some background as to how this charter could be looked at. Then, once they have gotten all this information, and it's going to take a protracted period of time, maybe 1 to 2 years before it's done. But after that happens, they do a recommendation to the city of Flint. And then when they do that, it comes out as a thing to be voted on, up or down by the residents. So the Charter Commission is empowered to look at the charter and come up with a recommendation. And the city of Flint residents can look at the new charter or the recommended charter and say, we think this is a go. But the city citizens could say no. They still have the power to not change it at all, or make some changes that would be in the best interest of the citizens here. So with that thought, I think it's important for us to have this discussion. And I understand if you may feel like you're not real comfortable with this, but I wanted to share from my perspective how important it is to me. And I'm taking, and probably to some, an unpopular position, but I think it's necessary that we look at both sides of this issue, because we're really at a crossroads here.
Well, Denise, that's why the show is called In My Opinion, because everybody has one.
There you go.
Mr. Hatter, what's your thoughts?
Well, excuse my voice again, but Denise has said everything that I would say. I'm surprised. I know she's a Republican now.
Let me go on record. I am an independent.
And so am I.
But guys, like Denise said, the population has more than 50% been reduced. We used to have a 200,000 number of people who lived in the city of Flint. We used to have 77,000 GM employees here with multiple influences from adjacent businesses who depended on General Motors business, who were suppliers and stuff, who hired multiple people to work in this community. Everybody at one time who wanted a job could have one, okay? You didn't need much education, but you got paid much better than educators. So there should absolutely be, if you worked 30 years in General Motors and say you worked in the 60s and 70s, you should have absolutely no concern with residual monies. General Motors paid well, gave tremendous amount of money so that we can invest in retirements and businesses and bank accounts and so on and so forth. But if we frittered away all of that money over time, we're going to be feeling sorry for ourselves. And like Denise says, I think it is time we take a hard look at this. The resources are declining. Population around us are increasing. There are people that are still coming and living in Genesee County because of its great wealth. So, but the city of Flint is overbuilt. It has the facilities and layout for 250,000, as you said, Janice. But it has only the tax base for 90,000. So there's a big gap there. Who's paying to support all of those costs, operating costs of situations that's still running, operating, but yet there's no income for them? The city needs to compress itself. It needs to scale back to a framework that fits what an 80,000 or 90,000 population center had 70 or 80 years ago when General Motors was new in this time. That would have been about the 30s. And we're just simply overbuilt with everything. We need to get rid of some stuff. We need to retract our boundaries and so that we can sustain ourselves. And then perhaps if we get the kind of education system that we need in this community and encourage our kids to become better at what they do, get good education, we can rebuild this. But it won't come back in time enough. Maybe Denise, you two will be here, and Ron, but I'll be gone. And I won't care much. Okay. Thank you.
Jackie, what's your thoughts?
Well, you guys both brought up some very good points. I think our direction, definitely, like you said, having to look at it in a different way. Our direction totally has changed. It used to be the auto city, and now as we look downtown, it is really becoming an educational city. I mean, because University of Michigan is building, and you have Baker College is building, and GMI is building, you know, so we have, Catering is building, and they're buying up apartment buildings, and so they're making dorms where they're, you know, used to didn't have housing for them. So we're going in a different direction. So because we're going in a different direction, we need to look at that. And I totally agree, and I'm glad you brought up those points, because I was sitting in a group and they were saying some different things, but you brought a different perspective to it, because we do need to look at things differently, because we have downsized. And when we were bigger, we did need bigger things, but now that we're smaller, we do need to look at things smaller. We're not trying to cut anybody's job, but we're also trying to maintain. We're trying to get rid of the vacant buildings, and we're trying to show that we're here.
Absolutely.
So I totally agree.
Well, you know, again, as I stated earlier, Flint should have been in the mayor's office, especially, and it's down there in City Hall, should have been thinking about downsizing 30 years ago, or maybe longer, all right? According to published reports, there's been over 85,000 just GM jobs alone gone since 1987, all right? That's just 87,000 GM jobs, not to mention other businesses, all right? The mom and pop stores and support, and support businesses and so forth. So it could have been well over, probably close to, in my opinion, probably pretty close to $200,000. So that's a lot of money that has lost. Right. Again, 30 years ago, if the mayors hadn't been sucking up to General Motors, all right, hobnobbing, playing golf and all this kind of stuff, all right, started thinking about the people's business, knowing that they seen this coming, all of the mayors, all right, all of them. Now, you got Walling down there, all right, he's been mayor for how long? You know, how many meetings do people in Flint have to have? I came to Flint in 1985, all right? That's all I've been going to. That's all I used to go to, is meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting, and it's the same old regurgitated mess, all right? And people, don't let. They're always changing things. First, it was the 21st century. You know what I mean? Now we got the chosen blue ribbon committee, orchestrated by some outsider EM. All right, voters, don't get confused by all this foolishness. All right. Next month it'll be something else. Next year it'll be something else. All right. Or it'll be somebody else delivering another tune. It's always about meetings. Okay. All right. Me, if I could vote in Flint, no, don't take away the Civil Service Commission. Absolutely not. And above all, don't take the Ombudsman's office. That's the only avenue that people have to address their issues, whether it be the mayor's office, police brutality, all right, racism, and things of that nature. You're going to give this stuff back to those people down there at City Hall. They don't care nothing about you or me. All right, they claim they do. Okay. You got all of these appointees down there making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. All right. For what? If you're crying about the city's broke, which I know it is, all right. If you're crying about, the emergency manager, his way of doing business, get rid of him. I mean, I agree with Denise. This town does not need an emergency manager, but vote somebody in the office. Once they get there, they got their feet on the ground. They know exactly what they're going to do. Instead of listening to all this old bullshit talking all the time. Over and over and over and over. I don't know how many block clubs meetings I went to. I don't know how many meetings at churches, all right, that I've been to, all right. Our city council people, all right, most of them are scared to death, all right. When I ran for 7th Ward City Council, I said, hey, look, keep the money, all right, keep the money. I didn't get elected, so I didn't have a chance for them to keep the money. But I would have. Yes.
Ron and I have a point.
You have raised several issues, and I'm going to see if I can address at least a couple of them. Okay. For one thing, the city of Flint did not want an emergency manager. No one did, and we actually had petition signs.
And they should have been proactive.
But let me finish, Ron. They were proactive. Okay. We had petitions signed to say that we did not want an emergency manager, okay? And it was voted on that we weren't going to have one. But then the governor turned around and changed the law and put it in there anyway. So we got stuck. So here's the new rules of engagement.
Well,
He's here. Hold up. Listen to me. We got stuck. 18 months is what we were said. We were told this is how long it's going to take to fix this thing, okay? Now, recently, the city council people have went through and attempted to make an endeavor to get him out of here earlier. They did that last week, 2 weeks ago at the most. They can't do it because by law, the law that came from Lansing, he's not able to leave here until the spring, around April, okay? But if the city is not in a place where it can self-govern, the governor, if he's still down there, he can put him back again.
Of course.
Or someone else in his place. But see, the thing about us is that you're talking about being proactive. We, the electorate, not just the mayor or any of the appointees, no one else, we as citizens have a responsibility too. Okay?
Exactly.
So, you raised the point about all these appointees that are downtown. Okay? Well, if we go along with the proposal, okay, and one of the proposals said it is only required by the mayor to have 2, and that's legal counsel and administrative services. Those are 2. And the proposal would allow for no more than 5. Okay, so that means salaries and for those individuals, okay, will be taken care of, but then we won't have all these extra people that you're talking about. all these extra people that we cannot afford to sustain.
Right.
Okay, and then you're talking about a budget. Okay, now in the charter, and I have the charter here if you'd like to take a look at it, there's only 2 lines in there that talks about budget. The mayor is supposed to talk about the budget, but there is no set procedure, okay, so that it is more transparent, and then we have a projection of our revenue. Wow, imagine that, no projection. You don't know what you're dealing with. And if you got people leaving,
Right.
yeah, they might be living in Genesee County, but do they pay in the tax base into Flint? And if they're not doing that, then again, we're still suffering.
And that's the worst thing I think Flint could have done, although the power was taken out of them. If you work in Flint, all right, you live in Flint, and you pay your taxes to Flint. You don't take that money out to
Clive.
Flushing and
Clive.
Davidson
And all the rest of
and
the
all
places.
the other places.
But again, let's bring the argument back to the proposals, okay? And this is why, this is a kind of conversation that needs to be had. And it's a hard conversation because as you said, and I mentioned it to you before, the 2 positions that people have an emotional attachment to are those 2 positions that you mentioned, civil service and the ombudsman. And I believe that those things should be in place.
Of
But
course.
at
They
the
are the
cost,
watchdogs.
but at a cost of $500,000, no, because there's another option. You should be able to empower a city council. You should be able to empower a city council that is proactive and aware and not a whole bunch of infighting going on to be able to protect the citizens because that's
Exactly.
why they were elected.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
therefore, there is another medium. And this, again, is stopgap. This is something that can happen now until the charter is revised. And then if we are in a position budgetarily to bring those things back and the commission says this should happen, then that's when it should happen. You understand? So we have to have options available to us. We can't get so emotionally attached to something that it doesn't make reason. It doesn't make sense. You understand?
What I'm emotionally attached to, I guess, all right, is that I hate to see this once great city, you know what I mean, in its demise as it is presently, okay? And I don't see anytime soon in the future that businesses don't even want to come here, all right?
But they're coming.
Not
But they're
maybe
coming.
McDonald's
Let me-
or
no.
Burger King,
I'm
or maybe-
gonna differ
or
with
maybe-
you.
Or maybe a plant over here
No.
that hires maybe 20 or
No.
30 people,
No.
or somebody over here.
They're coming, but
Okay.
they're not coming to the point that you would like to see them come. But part of the reason is we have to put in our public safety. We have to make it
That's
safe for
right.
people to want to be here and live here and bring their families and want to enroll their kids in school here. Listen to me, Ron, please.
Don't you know that it was designed that way? All right.
It was designed
to
that
get
way.
the money so that they could lay off all of those good police officers and firemen, okay? And
No,
let the
no,
city
no,
go
no.
to shit.
No.
Right, man.
I beg to differ with you. And again, I'm saying here we have a way to remedy this situation. If you want to talk, let's not talk, like I said, from an emotional standpoint. Let's talk about realistically how we can fix the problem. And this is a problem. So how do you fix it? You got to get people feeling safe and comfortable in order to live here, set up businesses here. And I serve on the planning commission. So I have seen firsthand watching businesses come in and say, this is what we're trying to do and this is what we want to do. And we want your blessings, your grace to be able to set this thing up, you know, following the protocol of how it's supposed to be done. And in most instances, they are granted that. Okay, so we're seeing things happen, but it's just not happening overnight. Okay, now let me bring up another point. We had a master plan. Okay, now you talk about meetings. The master plan in some ways is similar to that process of dealing with the commission, the charter commission. It was a protracted experience, and people get tired, true that, of meetings. But if you're talking about the city, now maybe you and I may not be the beneficiaries of some of the things that are going to take place, but eventually, if you have a roadmap, a guide to get you to where you would like the city to look like, then you have to take the time to put it in there and make it work and make it right. So people from all over the city were invited to come in and be a part of that. If they chose to do it, then they know what it was like. If they chose not to, they can throw stones and say, oh, you all were just down there meeting. No.
Well,
We're not doing so.
and from my understanding, that this blue ribbon committee this blue ribbon committee that was orchestrated by Early, all right, was his hand chosen folk.
Right.
All right, so if they're his hand chosen folks, they're gonna dance to his tune.
Not
All right?
necessarily.
Okay.
Not necessarily.
There are a couple
Just
of
like that mayor down there, you know what I mean? He's scared. He's trembling like
We gotta
dying
wrap-
nuts.
We gotta wrap it up.
He's. Yes, Henry.
Well, Ron, a couple of things. Denise is right about the financial manager. People in a political situation can't solve their problems. You got to bring a third party in, because debates go on and they end up fruitless. You have to
With
bring
that, this has been a great conversation. I doggone it. I wish we had another hour. All right, because I'm just getting started. But I want to thank my learned co-host, and
Denise.
thank you, millions of viewers worldwide. This is Ronald Barry Robinson for the In My Opinion Show. Stay focused.